what lies in the multiple rooms of my carpentry showroom shop, babies. Hello there, this is Alex from Lights Camera Debate, and I'm just back from seeing at Exeter Picture House Backrooms. I've finally seen it, people, as I know it's doing very well in the United States. A film that was made for $10 million. It's made 180 million and it's doing even better. It's a very interesting state at the moment where excuse me, where films like The Mandalorian came out and He-Man has come out, and the films that were made for absolutely nothing in Hollywood terms. So we have Backroom, I think it was made for $80 million, and it was made over 180 million now. We have Obsession, I think that was made for about the same amount, and is ahead of that. I think it's up nearly $200 and will be pretty high up by midsummer. The only films that I reckon will beat it is probably The Odyssey, Supergirl, and maybe Spider-Man. There is a new Minions, and people love Minions. And of course, there is new Toy Story 5s I've got to go and see. It looks lovely, and the reviews are very good. So, Backrooms, a small independent horror film. With the actor Tinrieta Wu, I probably pronounced that completely wrong. He was in a lot of things. I think he's been in the Kingsman films. He's done a lot of great films. I have a feeling he was in The Last King of Scotland, a very good film. Don't quote me on that. If I get any of this information wrong, please put a comment in the comments there, and I always reply to comments. And it would be great if you're not already subscribing to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell. 42 now, people, and to get to 50, which will make me very happy by end of June with another 9 to go. So 50-50, baby. Anyway, so we have this quite tight horror film. We have this guy who runs this run-down sort of department store. It's really falling through its bits. You know, he's left his wife. He's sleeping at the department store, and then finds that his basement, or whatever we call it, basement in the shop has an alternative world connected to it, and he can put his hand through the wall and goes into the other world. He tells he's seeing an analyst who's also had a very shattered child, and I really wish I could remember the actress's name. I can't, so she's very good. She basically doesn't believe him. He then talks in the two people who run the shop with him to go through the world, and eventually some pretty nasty stuff happens to them. I think I've just got a very high horror sci-fi rating because there was a couple of bits in this film I did find quite scary. I found the breathing quite intense and a bit of a higher heart rate in the cinema, but if you played any game like Silent Hill, Resident Evil, you're going to be used to all this heavy breathing, so it didn't really scare me that badly. The bits what really got me a bit was the body horror. You know, the guy, when he works out you can eat the people and he starts eating them as a dinner. But if you think about it, that was done about 20 years ago in the film Hannibal with Anthony Hopkins. You know, that's sort of not been done before. So it's a good film. I think it's getting a lot of hype because it's outselling the big guns. Like, you know, America expected the Mandalorian to do great bits of money, and it didn't. So yeah, and then halfway through this film, we do actually get a monster. We find out that, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, that this monster is basically a double ganger copy of Clark, the main character, and it's horrible. It's dressed as a sort of quite nasty pirate, and, you know, eats and tries to kill the professor who's there to help him out, because he eventually goes to the shop and she gets in the shop and finds the other world and goes to the other world. But the character is really the nasty side of Clark, this sort of double gang nasty pirate sort of stalks around. There's one bit in the film where I thought was very much like King Kong. She was like climbing this staircase and the whole thing was falling apart around her to get out of the world. And it looked, the way it was shot, as though he was coming up the stairs at the same time, the monster. So it did remind me a bit of Faye Dunaway in King Kong. It's a good film. I'm not saying it's not horror, but if you've watched a lot of horror films, you're going to find the bits you recognise, basically. You know, the damsel in distress, the guy is very socially not great. Clark, it's going on sniffing. I've got a bit of a hay fever cold. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of all the traits, and that's what makes it a good film. But it's all been done before, to be honest. I'm not saying I didn't like it, because I did like it. But you look at it, and a lot of the horror stuff has been done before to death. You look at the body horror stuff that's all been done in things like Hannibal and Out the Fly and other films like that. And the whole sort of damsel in distress thing was a bit annoying, because he was meant to be quite clever, which he did get the upper hand in the end, which is great. And then around this, you find out this is probably how they could probably make a Backrooms 2 or Backrooms 3. Well, they'll probably move it into a trilogy, which they probably want to do. You find out this government company knows all about the Backrooms, and they're analysing and studying, and they want her to analyse, because once you're in that world, you can't get out of that world. You're stuck there, basically. And that's how the film really ends, basically. And I think for an hour and 55, it's just right. It's good timing. It's good pace. The music's really good. I think the music's done by the director, and this director, I don't think has done much. I didn't recognise his name. I think there is a set of films that connect to this. You don't have to see them, because I haven't seen it on YouTube. There's a whole YouTube channel with the Backroom short films, I think they are, and they all connect. They give you a bit more backstory, I think, to the film. But, I haven't watched it, and Professor Mark Comer said you didn't need to watch it. And I enjoyed it. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. It did go at a good pace. But you just sit back and think, oh, this is really scary. Where's the jump? Where's the alien? Where's the monster? And the monster comes in quite late. You're thinking for quite a good bit of the film that it's the Clark character who's gone psychopathic and is going to eat a lot of them, basically, and tear them to bits. And then suddenly there is a monster. There's this pirate or Hook who's very scary. And you say with the Hook as well, you could think that's not one of the traits of people like Freddy Krueger or that sort of thing. Those sort of things have been done to death, really. So I think it's just the fact that it's either in America that the dystopian world of this film sort of makes them feel like the world they're in, or they just want some out of reality. Though it is very dystopian, the whole way it's shot, and the landscape is very bleak, and nobody's happy, and the only way you get happiness is by going into the back rooms, basically, and that world's better than the original world. And yeah, I think there's some great, looks on how do you know things in life unless you're trained to know it. Like Clark asks, when he's trying to explain that there's another world, he goes, well, how would you know what a dog looks at? If you've never seen a dog before in life, how would you be able to draw a dog? And because of what you think it looks like, not what it is, basically. And there's a lot of stuff about loops and psychology of loops, the fact we're all on a loop in life, basically. And that can sound to be true, but I personally would say watch this, but once you've watched this, I would go and watch a really good horror film called Requiem for a Dream, and that is a real good dystopian horror film with the same sort of outcomes, really, of Backrooms, basically. So Backrooms, enjoyable, but not. I don't think it's as enjoyable, and it didn't really shock me as bad. But I've been brought up on a diet of horror, so maybe my horror tolerance is a bit more out there than most people's. Most people would probably have found that quite horror, quite jumpy and horror. I didn't find it that jumpy at all, to be honest. And there was a couple on the back sofas at the back of the picture house, because the sofas, and they were jumping quite a lot. I could hear her jumping quite a bit. But the problem is all the traits of, the water dripping and the breathing and the hazard suits have been done to death in horror and horror games. You look at anything like Resident Evil or Silent Hill, any of those, the Doom games, the Quake games, they've had sort of, people heavy breathing. I won't do it. The heavy breathing, or somebody breathing heavily because they're out of, been running from horror. That has been done to death, in my opinion. But otherwise a good watch. I'm glad I saw it, but to be bluntly honest, nothing really special, to be honest. It's another thing where people have made a lot of hype out of something, and it isn't that special, to be honest. I want to go and see the other thing that people are making a lot of hype out next week, which is Obsession. That looks quite good. I need to give that a roll. And today, Joys of the Picture House not showing any Universal films. I was really hoping to get some more audio description trailers, but nothing really. And they did the annoying thing. I don't know if it's just me who finds annoying when you watch a trailer and the whole trailer, though it's been cut, tells you the whole film. I'm not sure it was because I couldn't work out what it was, but it was a trailer for a film based on somebody who's trying to write Hollywood scripts and ends up being a world famous chef. And I know that because the trailer told me the whole film, and I literally hate trailers like that. But you might disagree. Let me know in the comments, and I always reply to comments. So this week might be Obsession and Mandalorians. I still haven't seen either of those. I want to see them. Saturday, because it's the only time the picture has, on Saturday will definitely be Toy Story 5. Cannot wait for that. Love the Toy Story films. Might have to rewatch them on Disney Plus. Anyway, keep the faith, enjoy the love, and that's all, folks, for the moment, but more coming. So if you're not already subscribing, hit the bell, more coming. And if you're new, why don't you go back and watch the old video because they're just as good. So that's all, folks.